So, good day, everybody. This is the episode Conversation for Two. I'm your host, Rahim, and I have my guest, Jasmine.
Hi.
Love you, Jasmine. Jasmine is an artist, a tattoo artist based in Toronto. Jasmine is also a trained graphic designer, all around creative. And we're just going to be doing a little bit of getting a little bit know more about you and your particular qualities as a creative. So, to start off, for those who don't know, Jasmine is the one behind Ugly Tats.
Yeah, that's
right.
me.
So, what as your artist behind Ugly Tats? What got you into the tattoo business to begin with?
Well, I came up to Toronto to pursue graphic design, actually.
Yeah.
And then I was going to school. My partner, Jared, he had come up to Canada a year after me, and then he was doing his apprenticeship. I'd always liked tattooing, and I thought it was cool. I always wanted to like get tattoos, be tattooed, and I found it was just like through seeing his process, I also enjoyed like the idea of being able to tattoo people and like putting your art on someone forever, right? And I was like, I think I can do that.
Yeah.
So Jared is actually the one who taught me while I was learning to not learning to do graphic design, while I was in school for graphic design. I would do that in my third year of my program. Sorry, my cat.
Yeah, it's a kid. It's off screen, but the cat really wants to come outside. Hi, Robin.
Hi.
Yeah. So
my third year of OCAD, I decided that I asked Jared, can you teach me how to tattoo? And he took me as his apprentice, and he mentored me into being a tattoo artist, and that's how I kind of got into it.
Yeah. Like I know you've been a tattoo artist for how long now?
I think it's a year and a half. Almost going on 2 years.
2 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like I've been kind of like watching you and seeing your development in that regard. And I've paid a lot of attention to your art style. And I've always had a liking towards your art style. And like you have a very, I don't say it's almost like I was looking at like a vintage comic book brought into like the modern day life, our modern day world. So like what helps you develop that art style that you currently have?
Well, I mean, exactly what you just said, actually. So I'm really inspired by vintage like pinup girls. I love, like, for example, Archie comics. Archie comics, I had like a bunch growing up, and like every time I was in the grocery store in Barbados, I would be like, Mom, can I get a Archie comic? Remember at the
JB's, right? Yeah,
exactly.
Like on like pages, but so I love theirs.
I had so many of their comics.
Yeah.
And like even I don't know if you remember Tintin.
Yes, I had those books. I had so many Tintin books.
Yeah, so I'm really inspired by that, and like specifically the girls. I like drawing girls and like pinup type girls. So I was really inspired by Archie comics and like that style of comic. And again, I like the human figure, but mainly the female figure. And that's kind of what pushed me into the style that I have right now.
Yeah,
so,
it's like very. I don't want to say that your lines are very thick, but they're thick, and then like kind of very into like very thin lines at times. And it's like it also has like a almost like you get, even though it's like a flat image, it has like a sense of perspective.
Definitely, yeah. That's what I wanted to like create from my images, because I feel like when I'm drawing even the curve of the cheekbone, I'm like making the line weight so that we know that the weight is heavier on the chin rather than the cheek. And I like that, and that's what the style of those pinup like posters and illustrations, that's how it was designed back then. So I was just like, I like that. And funny enough, actually, a teacher from my secondary school convent is Mr. Barnett. He actually is the one who taught me to be like, line weight can teach you different, like it can express different things. So like it can pull something forward or bring something back depending on your line weight. So honestly, that I'd give to him. He's the one who kind of taught me how to do that. So shout out, Mr.
Shout out.
Barnett.
Yeah. So I'm curious about one thing though. Like when you're creating like a new flash or new art piece, right? When you're going through that process, like how do you go about it? Do you use like tools like Pinterest for references?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like,
yeah. I mean, Pinterest for sure. Pinterest is like on my homepage, and like when I'm looking for inspiration, I literally have it on my phone. You know how you can edit your phone screen with like widgets and stuff. I have like Pinterest big, and it shows me 3 different images of like my Pinterest board, and it's like, oh, you might like this, and like literally I get inspired by stuff like that. Or even scrolling Instagram, I'm inspired by other artists. There's a few other artists who I'm really like into, and they reflect a lot of what I resonate with. Like again, I follow a lot of artists that do a lot of female figures, a lot of women's faces. I'm really inspired by neo-traditional. Neo-traditional style is like a style of tattooing that has so when they say traditional, it's more like, I don't know if you would know this, you know, Sailor Jerry, like when you think of like an old anchor tattoo.
Oh yeah.
So things like that, and then that's traditional. So neo-traditional meaning new, neo meaning new. It has the qualities of the thick lines and the bright colors, but usually with like slightly hyper realistic. My cat really wants to come outside.
We can interview you next, by the way.
I think she'd like that. But anyway, so yeah, I'm really inspired by artists, and Pinterest is a really big one for me. Instagram too. But yeah, even like just going out, talking to other people who are artists. When I was in OCAD, I used to get inspired by some of the art pieces. If I would go down to illustration, to their department, that was also really inspiring. It's also really good to see other people's art. And that really helps too.
I also think like Toronto, like since being here and then traveling, like there's a lot of visual input, right? Like especially with, like even like besides the ads, there's like you get like some very interesting art. There's also like a lot of illustrations on like the ground. I feel like all like subconsciously feed into like what your like mental library is like.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely coming up here too, like even seeing more graffiti, because even back home, yes, we have like murals and stuff, but we don't have graffiti, at least the graffiti that I see here. Like, yes, we have people who'd scribble on a wall, but like but not like I don't know, we even have an alley called Graffiti Alley.
Graffiti Alley, I've heard of that.
There's lots of art is really appreciated here, and I feel like in Barbados is not appreciated as much as it should be. There's so many beautiful artists, like honest to God, I feel like there's so much talent in Barbados, and we should push our artists more, because as someone who's moved up here, I feel like the artists that I know in Barbados would thrive. They would thrive here. I really think so. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but like someone is beatboxing. Anyway.
So you mentioned like the challenges. You talked about like a very relatable thing for artists and creators back home, like the challenge for art and creativity to be seen in its proper light back home. But like I wonder, like when you've made that journey from like back home, from like Barbados to here, like what challenges have you encountered here that you think might be very particular towards like Toronto as a creative professional?
I would say it's difficult. It is definitely not easy, and a lot of people, again, like, you know, you'd see people on Instagram or like on social media being like, you know, flaunting the life that they have here. And it may even seem discouraging to be like, oh, well, I'm only in Barbados and blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't be discouraged. If you have a dream and you really want to go for that dream, I'd go for it. But with that being said, so the struggles of Toronto is just like, first of all, the culture shock. The culture is very different, even though it's a multicultural city. Like, and yes, there's a big Caribbean presence here. The amount of people who are like from the Caribbean but aren't from the Caribbean, you know, like is It's so annoying. But anyway, I feel like finding your footing here is a little hard when you're starting out, and like you have to figure out who you are and what you can contribute to the space that you're in.
It's such a big
it's
place.
Huge. It's a huge pool. But that means there's a lot of opportunities
as well, yeah.
Which I'm very thankful to have the opportunity. And and obviously it was easier for me because I was born here. I was born in Toronto, raised in Barbados. Literally only came back. This is going to be my 6th year this year in September. But coming to Toronto was difficult because in my first year here, I didn't go to school because I was like, the plan was always to go to school, but I wanted to get to know Toronto first. I wanted to get to know where I'm living first. I needed to be climatized in terms of like literally the weather, in terms of the culture here, and I felt like in that year I needed to learn my environment. It was very different because I feel like in Canada, Canadians are really nice, but they're not. What was it you said it a day ago?
Oh, they're nice but not kind?
Yeah. They're nice but not kind. So like for example, when I first moved here, I was working at Michael's craft store. First I was a cashier, then I like worked the parties, then I was in framing. So I like climbed the tier over there. But like even the simple thing of if I was going the same direction home as you, and you were someone with a car and I was taking the bus and it's late at night in the winter, like they'd be like peace rather than give you a ride home. And I feel like obviously you're not owed that or whatever, but a Bayesian would, or someone who's from the Caribbean would give you a ride home, you know, that kind of
sense of community is a little bit different than up here in
very different. So there was that, and then it was also difficult juggling more than one job and then traveling. Oh my God, I didn't realize how tiring traveling is. So when I first moved here, I moved in Ajax. Ajax is pretty far. Not pretty, it's far-ish. I don't know kilometers. Don't ask me. Bad with directions. Anyway, but it's pretty far. It's at least like an hour and a half to get to and from the city, like Toronto to Ajax. And then I was working in Ajax, then I moved to like the border of Ajax Pickering. I was working in Pickering and coming down, and then I moved to Toronto, still working in Pickering. I was working with the UPS store. I was a graphic designer / sales associate there. I was working in the pandemic. That was really difficult.
That be a struggle, yeah.
I was working, like sometimes I'd be working and on my computer listening to like my class at the same time. Obviously that's not ideal, and there's not much you could do about that other than just push through it. And like again, like
you don't want girl bossing that way. Like
girl bossing way too hard. Accidentally girl boss way too hard. But that's why I feel like you really have to want what you're going for and what you're doing. You really have to push yourself, and if you're not willing to do that, it's going to be difficult and you're going to give up. It's hard to not give up, but if you really want to do this, if you have your eyes on the prize, that's what you got to do. But anyway,
another thing I appreciate that. I think to segue that now into what, like a more personal note, like if you were to say, like these things that you've gone through, like these experiences that you had, that kind of built you up over time, you know, like so. You've obviously learned some things as like being here. So like if there was like a quality that you say you currently have that you think other people can learn from, what do you think it would be?
Perseverance for sure. Like again, it's not easy to be here. You have to be like, okay, I know it's difficult, but I'm gonna really push through, because if you don't push through, you're all you've got.
You're all you got.
You're all you have sometimes, and
at least in the start,
at the beginning. And not to say like I didn't have support from my parents, because I did, and they were really, really nice. But I, as an only child, I don't want to be that only child.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you're like, oh, I depend on my parents for everything, because I didn't. And I also, this is my own thing, but like it's hard for me sometimes to ask for help when I need it. I really want to like struggle and make it and like do it myself. And sometimes that's like obviously to my own detriment. Like I can reach out. I know I have friends who are really, really supportive. I have a supportive partner, which I'm very thankful for. Supportive parents, which I'm really thankful for. So yeah, I again, perseverance, but keeping your eyes on the prize, because it's not like you're gonna move here, become a great graphic designer or a great tattoo artist or a great illustrator overnight. That's not something that's gonna happen. You have to understand that it's gonna take you time. Like this is 5-6 years in the making to be here, right?
Be here.
And I'm extremely grateful. And I'm still not done. Like my goal isn't, I haven't reached my goal. I feel like it's just a stepping stone right now. But yeah.
Okay, I like that you have like some ambitions, like to see beyond like where you're currently having. Like it is important for people to understand like skill, and not just skill, like skill and like success is like something that like builds up over like months and years and like repeated actions.
Consistency, for sure.
So this one is not really more on the creative side or the professional side. This is more like, I just want to know like what was like a funny experience or like a crazy experience you've had since being in Toronto? Like I'm genuinely curious.
Okay, well, like I had said, Toronto's a very multicultural city, very open, and I have like openly queer friends, and I love them to bits. They're some of my closest friends, and so we were going to the beach with two of my closest friends, and obviously from the Caribbean, I'm expecting blue crystal waters, white sand, and first of all, so we're going to Toronto Island and Hanlan's Point. So if anyone knows anything about the city, they know that Hanlan's Point is a clothing optional beach, aka a nude beach, and I didn't know this. So we were going to the beach, and we were walking, so we had to get on a ferry from the main city, like Toronto, the ferry, and then we came over to the other side, Toronto Island, and then we just see these. We're texting them, and we're like, "Hey, we made it. Just tell us where you are." They're like, "Oh yeah, just keep walking," and we were walking for like a good 10 minutes. We're like, "Can't find this thing," but every so often we see clothing optional beach. Clothing optional beach.
It's not clocky. It's not clocky.
I'm like, yeah, that's not the beach they're at. I was like, that's not the beach we're at. And then it was Pride Month, right? So Hanlan's Point is a very like queer welcome space, right? Yeah. So there's a plane. Hello. Hopefully you can see a plane. But anyway, so we were there, and I didn't know that this was a nude beach, and I was like, they're not on this beach, right? Whatever. My cats really want to come outside. Anyway, and then they were like, yeah, take a turn by the blaring music. There was a sea of people, so I see heads of people, and then I was like, okay, cool. I looked down. I was like, that's where we are. Oh, okay.
I didn't know this guy party.
Just see these, ravers. And then all you see their parts. And I was like, great, where are you guys? On the beach? So that was an interesting experience. That was funny. Again, truly, what's weird? You don't feel ogled at that beach. Like
it's very funny.
It's funny.
Yeah. It's like you would think the very place you would go to ogle somebody. Yeah. It's like no one
wants to be staring at you.
It was like no, my eyes are up here.
Up here. You're not looking. You're not looking anywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, weirdly enough, like now obviously I've been to the beach way more often, and not going in the water, but well, like we have time to just relax. It feels like home, even though it's nothing like home. Not as beautiful in my opinion, but it's all we've got over here. So but yeah, like that was my experience. That's the funny little experience that we've had so far.
Okay, well
Yeah.
that is, it would be a very big culture shock for somebody
I was
coming
like,
from
"Ooh."
home. But yeah, so I thank you for sharing all that with me. Like
Mhm.
it it's a very enriching thing to hear, especially as I think it also is a very promising thing to hear as somebody
Mhm.
who has come from Barbados and migrated to Toronto, or like any person that's looking to migrate anywhere, like
Mhm.
seeing somebody that has gone through that journey and like come out on the other end in a very, whoop, sorry, that's just some firefighters,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
There's a fire station
yeah,
right there.
right. Who
You wanna wait?
I'm gonna give
Yeah,
it time.
yeah.
I'm gonna give it
Give
time.
it a
I'm gonna give it
second.
time.
They're really
Toronto,
going off.
Toronto, right? But yeah, so like, I think it is good for people to see someone of in your position and of your
Mhm.
identity and of your cultural background
Mhm.
going through something like that, something very difficult, and then coming out on the other end in this very successful way. So like, I'm very
Thank you.
glad that you shared that. And you very done very well for yourself, I would say.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
yeah.
it.
So to end off with that,
Policeman.
yeah, yeah. You know what? They might be looking for me. You never know. Hey,
Oh
um,
my god.
you guys can find the sirens. I just wait. You guys can find Jasmine on Ugly Tots. I will link it in the description below and in the in the video itself.
Mhm.
You have you have a website.
It's coming. It's in
Yeah,
the works.
in
So
the
be on
works,
the
right?
lookout. It
So
will
be
be
on the
on
lookout.
my
Look. So I will
Instagram.
post that as well when that launches.
Mhm.
You guys honestly have a very wonderful day wherever you are, and a
Mhm.
great rest of your year. And for no, I think this is my last video in Canada. So yeah, welcome. Thank you, Canada, for welcoming me. I hope you guys have a great. I'm actually not sure what I'm gonna say after this, but like, I hope you guys have a great winter. You know, yeah. Hope you guys have a great winter in Canada. Thank you for welcoming me. It's been a very great experience as well. So yeah, signing off.
Bye.